In the United States, we are fortunate enough to be able to participate in free and fair elections. Regardless, many Americans do not take part in the state and national elections that occur every 2 years. Only about 50% of Americans usually feel compelled to go to the voting booth for even a presidential election. Simply put, voting is how you help determine who will run for the government of your country. While the presidential election receives most of the national media coverage, there will be numerous other congressional seats and issues on your ballot every 2 years. Voting may lead to a change in the state constitution or which political party is in power. Voting in every election is how one person makes his voice heard to those people in charge. Educate yourself on the candidates and the issues before you vote. Most people will know about the candidates in a presidential election. It's just as important to be schooled on those running for Senate and House seats. Read local newspapers to learn more about local elections, such as mayoral race, and as well as special issues that may be on the ballot during the upcoming election. Voting strictly on party lines without knowing anything about the candidates or issues is foolish. A big reason to participate in voting is because democracy is a participatory sport. If there are no players, the game can't go on. It requires that people actively participate in order to keep the system going. If no one participates, then democracy stops being democratic and can turn into a tyranny, which is far worse. Voting is a civic duty. It is our civic responsibility as members of a democratic society to vote. We have to look at representation. Many minority groups, such as women and those of color, have worked very hard to get the right to vote. To throw that opportunity out the window could be throwing all of their efforts to gain the right to vote out the window as well. Every vote counts. Don't let anybody tell you that your vote doesn't matter. The 2000 presidential election disproved that theory, as the election was decided by fewer than 600 votes in the state of Florida. Many local and state elections have been decided by even fewer overall votes. Many people worry about their votes not being counted. If you think something is fishy, either with your registration or local polling place, contact the election board in your district and your state. Analysts get paid a lot of money to look at the voting results when they come in. Even if you write on your ballot that you don't want to vote for either candidate, analysts will take note of that. They're called spoiled votes. The messages will get back to the elected officials. I know for myself, for this presidential election, I really don't like either candidate. So when I go to vote, I may just write on my ballot that I don't want to vote for either one, and those stats will be put together and it will get back to them. Possible change versus status quo. If you like the way things are, then you can vote for the way things are. If you want things to change, then you can vote for change. Elections are one of the only times when citizens can either radically change the system or vote to prevent change. Voting is a direct mode of political action, which means if you're not really sure how to get involved in your community or not really sure how to express yourself, then voting gives you this opportunity. A major thing about voting is it is very easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of time or energy to vote. In order to vote, most countries require that you register, and it's sometimes done online. In the United States, you can register online to vote. So you don't have to leave your house, you don't have to do much, you can get on your computer at home and you can register to vote. And on voting day, you just go to one of your local polls, which is usually only a couple blocks from your home, and you can cast your ballot. In Wyoming, you can actually register to vote and vote on the same day. How easy is that? The government works as a whole, so if you vote in the federal elections but don't vote in your local or municipal election, there's no guarantee you'll have parties or politicians who agree with your vision of things or work towards the goals that you want to see progress made towards. By voting in all levels of government, you ensure that your policy preferences, opinions, and choices are reflected in all levels of the government, leading to a consistent whole. Most importantly, voting gives you an opportunity to balance power. In some countries, politics are dominated by two big parties or factions. If you want, you can vote for a third option and change the balance of power, thus changing the face of politics. It is very important that everybody gets out there and votes. Like I said, even if you don't know much about politics, if you don't know much about the candidates, do some research, watch the debates. Think about who sounds the most appealing to you, what views are important to you, and see which candidates are following those views. It takes 5 minutes to register, it takes 5 minutes to vote. Get out there, get your voice heard. Otherwise, you can't be one of those people complaining about how you don't like the president. If you don't vote, then you can't complain.